That I coach one-on-one about the difference between keeping your rib cage down and your chest up on squats. This is something that was very, very confusing for me for a long time, and I finally think I've got more or less figured out, and because of that, I think I can explain it pretty well. And because I think this would be helpful to many people, I want to show you guys exactly what I mean. So we're going to start with the rib cage position. A common cue you'll hear is to keep your rib cage down when you're bracing properly. So first I'm going to show you what rib cage flared looks like. Basically, if you're thinking about the thoracic spine, which is the middle part of your spine, right below your neck and above your kind of lower back, your lumbar. The thoracic spine needs to be in a neutral position, which is the same thing as saying rib cage down, and that looks like this. I'm bearing down with my upper abs, and I'm keeping this part of my body stacked over my hips. If I allow my rib cage to flare, that means I'm extending the thoracic spine, arching like that. And while this looks like I'm in a straight position, it feels like it's not. It feels like I'm kind of bending backwards, like I'm arching for a bench press. The problem is, and here, let me show you from the front real quick. So from the front, bearing down with the rib cage, right? You can see I'm kind of perpendicular, or exactly parallel to the camera, versus rib cage flared, where then I'm no longer parallel to the camera, I'm kind of arched backwards. So you want to keep the rib cage down when you're squatting and deadlifting. However, many people get confused because so many people give the cue chest up, and for many people, myself included, when you hear chest up, you want to point your chest at the freaking ceiling, which means flaring the rib cage, extending the thoracic spine. That's not right. What chest up means is that my chest is not going down. All right? So in other words, my torso, my whole torso is staying perpendicular to the ground. It's staying upright like this. I'm not allowing it to bend forward like this. Chest down means when you squat, you're essentially doing a good morning. So you got the bar on your back, and as soon as you go to squat, you push your hips back, and you see how my chest is now closer to the ground. You want your chest further away from the ground, not extending the rib cage. So I'm gonna, okay, so this is how the actual squat looks. First, I'm gonna show you where I'm keeping my chest up, right? I'm keeping my torso perpendicular to the ground, but I'm allowing my rib cage to flare. This is what I most commonly see. Rib cage flared, chest is up. I'm still gonna end up pushing the hips back, and you can see it looks okay with no weight, but if I actually had weight in order to balance, I would have to push my hips way back like this, and it would look more like that. That's not what we want. We want the rib cage down, but many times when people say keep the rib cage down and try to keep the chest up, what they end up doing is more something like this, right? Where you're just hinged backward. Now my rib cage is down, my torso stays my spine stays in a neutral position, but you can see my hips are still very far behind my knees, behind my shoulders, behind my center of gravity. And as I come out of the hole, I really have to pick my hips up first, which is, again, not ideal. Ideal means keeping the rib cage down, right? Thoracic spine neutral, and keeping the torso parallel to the ground, and keeping your whole body stacked, and that looks more like this. Okay? So when you hear those two cues, don't get confused by them. Just remember they're trying to say two very, very different